Paul Daftarian, welcome to the Forward One podcast.
Excited to be here, gentlemen.
Grateful to have you here, man. One of a kind.
I don't normally battle LA traffic, but for you guys, anything.
I love it. So absolutely prolific real estate agent with his own team and own brokerage in Orange County, specifically Newport, Corona Del Mar. Tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate.
I got into real estate actually through the mortgage business in 1994. For the young listeners, probably get out the calculator and do the math on that one. But I was actually telemarketing secretly while I was in high school in summers to make extra money because my parents didn't want me to work. They wanted me to focus on my studies. I'm Persian, so parents just care about straight A's. And in all seriousness, I kind of got exposed to just the mortgage side of it. That company at the time, they were a bank, but they had realtors in the office. I kind of understood the whole business, kind of jumped into it a couple years later as a loan officer. I hit success. It was timing in the market too. I did really, really well. A year after that, I had enough money to buy into a mortgage company. And this was like 99. Mm-hmm. And I bought into a company that also owned a real estate brokerage and their own escrow. Mm. So I got behind the, like what you guys see all the time, which is the operations of the symphony of all these different components to where you just think, you drive by these neighborhoods as I'm looking at your beautiful view thinking, there's a lot of people involved. There's 25 people involved in every sale or something, right?
Yeah.
So I did loans for almost 18 and a half, 19 years.
Wow.
We had one successful exit. Believe it or not, right before the crash, we sold our mortgage business to CTX Mortgage, Centex Homes out of Texas, out of Dallas, which is no longer around. But then...
Because they paid too much for your mortgage company.
I wish they did. This is a separate podcast, but we had an offer that was 20x what we actually sold the company for.
Wow.
And my ex-business partner, I love him to death, but he's a narcissist and an egomaniac. And he, out of pride, he wanted a certain number. He was like, we're not selling for less than 50. And we ended up selling for $5 million. Mm-hmm. And we had an offer for $46 million.
Wow.
So for $4 million, just 6 months later, remember the market quickly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was a mental note in my mind that I never wanted to have a business partner that could control that much of my financial outcome.
Sometimes, when I look back on the history of things, sometimes it really does work. And if you look into, forget about politics and who you like and don't like, but if you look into Elon Musk's history, he had partners in his original thing that then became PayPal, but they had these massive offers on the table, and it was the only thing that required a super majority.
Right.
Yeah.
So you couldn't sell without all three partners. And the other two partners, and it was so much money that the other two partners, and these guys didn't have money. This was their first giant exit. Yeah. And it was so much money that the other partners who really got along with him were suing him to say you've got to agree to this. It's insane. And by the time they're like halfway through the lawsuit, the next offer is double what, and then he's like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. You're right. And then he goes, but I don't want to sell still.
Again. Yeah.
And then I think Amazon was saying to them, here's your offer. Okay. Just so you know, we are building. Let us show you the room where there's 100 engineers building what you currently have. Okay. Yeah. We still interested. We'll fire all the engineers and give you this huge offer.
Yeah.
But
if you don't.
And Elon Musk is like, yeah, that's okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, of course, it worked out.
Yeah, I think when you're, especially for young listeners out there, when you're young, you just want to do well and make it, but you don't realize who you partner with, really kind of their ethics, how they treat people.
Absolutely.
In my past life in the mortgage business and even flipping houses, when it's raining, you make hay and everybody's good to everybody, but you really don't see someone's character until bad times hit.
Another thing that I've been looking at a lot lately is just something that I call signal and noise. And so the signal is you could have this giant business plan, which is great. It's great to have that. The signal is, what are the 3 things? What are the 2 things? What are the 4 things that I need to accomplish today? That's signal. everything else is noise.
Yeah.
And the people who really, really kill it. And again, forget about like who you like and who you don't like and all that sort of thing. Notoriously, Elon Musk is like,
I saw
all
it's so
signal.
Funny. It's funny you mentioned that. I was literally watching a YouTube short where somebody was talking about Elon Musk. I think it might have been
and
Kevin
Steve
O'Leary.
Jobs.
And Steve
and
Jobs.
Steve
Kevin
Jobs.
O'Leary.
That's correct.
It was Kevin. I literally listened to it yesterday.
Yeah. And
Kevin
Steve
O'Leary
Jobs,
was saying that I've never met anyone in my life like a Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk that focus on the
signal and noise.
And so what's interesting, I think most people that are running these businesses, whether they're a business in a business, like your top agents here, or maybe you're like escort teams kind of running their business in your business, the ones that are absolutely killing it, they are great at getting those tasks that are like the signal tasks done, right?
It's KPIs.
And I think,
it's always about, what I call the leading indicators, which are the things that you can control that drive the results.
I'm going to ask you both a question. You have 2,000 agents.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that some people go to the same, drive the same car, wear the same clothes, eat the same breakfast, come to the same office, whatever offices we're talking about, and there's two totally different outcomes for different people? And listen, the person that isn't hitting their KPIs and making their calls and getting the listings and doing 120 million a year in business is still wanting it. It's not like they're just a complete, pardon my French, can I swear on this thing? Like
no?
Okay, like
I think so.
Off?
Yeah.
I can't be the first person that's asked you
we'll
if you could swear. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to.
I'm a real person, so I just speak how
we
I speak.
we have.
No one's sworn on your podcast?
Well, it depends because I'm signing. We're on the Entrepreneur Network, and I'm signing.
By the way,
another.
bravo.
Yeah,
number one, huh?
Number one.
You're number one. Yeah, we read that in the car.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
ChatGPT said you're number one for entrepreneurial business and entrepreneur segment on Apple iTunes.
It's. Honestly, it surprises.
We talked about this yesterday.
It surprises.
Are we bringing out the champagne? Are we celebrating?
Yeah, I mean, some of it surprises me. I've got to tell you. And I've got supposedly a contract, in the inbox to go to a different network. So who knows? But we'll
and it's per what you said. We don't count the dollars on the paychecks. We just do our thing and create enough value for others, right?
But I want to go back to my question because I'm going to take my girlfriend's advice with the boomerang. Right?
Okay.
Come back to the main point.
I love it.
So, what is the main difference between those two people? Right? You got Sally and Sarah.
Yeah.
You got Kevin and Tom. They're coming in here. What is the real reason why those two people's outcomes and the number of goals they achieve are so vastly different?
So I would say what distinguishes those that succeed versus those that quote unquote fail, it's just there's no plan B. It's like they are all in, and breaking that down, they are consistent. I always come back to
they burn the bridge.
They burn the bridge
failure.
because people who hedge themselves, to be candid with you, especially in this business when you're new, are typically not going to succeed. And it's that level of consistency, it's that level of resilience, and it's having that confidence, in themselves. I always say, like, if you don't believe in yourself, how is your client going to believe in you?
So
go ahead.
So
and then there's other components.
One of the things, and I would refer to something else that Josh said, okay? Because one of the things that I've done in my career is basically because I don't have a safety net, okay? I never, it's like, burn the boats. Yeah, burn the boats is a great way to attack the field, right? The general burns the boats, there's no retreat. Okay, so I get that. Or jump without a net or whatever. I don't jump without a net. I don't burn the boats because I don't have a safety net. But I know
the trust fund checks don't cover your lifestyle.
No, they do not. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So when I was a lawyer and I hated it, I had that great paycheck, and I'm doing real estate also. And I'm like, I just can't wait to let go of this so that I can go over here. But I made sure that over here was safe enough before I may have even waited too long. So I waited till the real estate was making more than, it wasn't like I have enough now to survive. Now it's not even burning the boats. I'll leave a little life raft. I'm making sure there's like a good boat to get me out of here.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you're saying, but when you take it down to you're really maybe asking a motivation question. I go back to something that Josh says.
It's an end result question.
Well, okay, so I go back to what Josh says on that, and one of the things that Josh will say is the people that have the most real estate conversations will win.
Yeah.
Period. And so one of the things that Josh has to do to succeed in what he does is talk to more realtors. Yeah. So if you're going to attract realtors, right, he probably recruits more realtors than anyone in the United States. And my guess is that he has more conversations than anyone in the United States. Now, I think he's obviously very good at it, but how do you get good at it? You get good at it by having more conversations.
Yeah, and it comes back to what Paul, when you attach your identity to something, that's the game changer to me.
Yeah.
So and the other thing is and it's preparation, it's confidence, it's taking action. It's not being afraid to make mistakes. I think that's one of the biggest things. So many people are trying to get it perfect and they're not interested in just doing it. And it's all about progress, not about perfection.
And I wonder if your question, because it is right, it is a national podcast. It is a podcast that people want to learn from.
Yeah, and everyone listening isn't a realtor.
And so, maybe the question too is when Paul decides so he's gone from 10 to 20, but there's still more people that want to join than he's saying yes to. So when he's looking at you said Sally and Sarah, when you're looking at Sally and Sarah, you're like, I got to pick one. How does he figure out, do I go with Sally or do I go with Sarah? What are the indicators for success?
I got to tell you, so people that, we surround ourselves with, these alpha type individuals, whether it's burn the boat or you want to have 10 boats, you're just going to succeed. No matter what, you're going to keep on trying. A lot of that is just conditioning from childhood, right? So whatever your upbringing was, whatever your chip on your shoulder was, that fire is going to burn until you get what you want. You could be the best stay-at-home parent in the world, and that's your passion, right? You're going to be the best. We've all had a school teacher that you're like, wow, you're different than anyone else. It doesn't have to be someone that makes the biggest check, right?
Yep.
But what I found was, because last time we met, I told you guys my real passion has been sales management, sales training,
right?
Mentoring people. And I love taking people that didn't have the upbringing I had, which my upbringing was fail or die. Right. I'm sorry. Win or die. Right. Yeah. You fail, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? You're number one. It's like, I always joke around with my team. It's like Ricky Bobby's our mascot. You're either first or last. Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's listen, not everyone's an immigrant. Your kids are first generation. They got all this pressure. Family was somebody back home.
Yep.
Here, you're their future. Right. So there's a lot of pressure. Some people are like, hey, they just have nice parents. The kids just grow up being nice and they want to do well in life, but they don't have that constant pressure. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yep.
So that pressure, or again, maybe not from your family, could have been from a mentor, could have been from a sibling, could have been a school teacher, but those people are different. The people that are just born leaders, they're alphas, they're the top in their group. That's one segment, right?
How do you get the people that have not?
How do you get the people that are the ordinary people? Listen, I drove from Palm Springs to your office, right? And I was just thinking when I was driving, I was like, this is the 99% of the world, right? We hang around the 1% so much that we get kind of living in this bubble of, it's not reality. You're just around this many successful people all the time. You lose touch. You're like, oh, well, listen, if you're going to just have the passion and the work ethic and talk to more blah, 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 you're going to be successful. But some people don't have that. How do you take somebody, and I got to tell you, after 29, 30 years of being around salespeople, which are all ordinary people that just are willing to do something crazy, which is not of a consistent paycheck, it has to do with confidence. And this is the one thing I've learned. If people are confident, they will follow your lead and they'll do what you tell them to do. They'll have more conversations, whatever the net effect is. If they don't have the confidence, they will doubt themselves. Insecurity is the strongest emotion, and they will pretend and they will spend more time going through the motions and making everyone around them feel like they're working hard when they're just trying to avoid work.
And how do you remedy that? Which I think it's brilliant perspective. My answer to that, to some degree, no matter who you are, is help people identify their unique superpowers and let them play in that world, because that's where they're most confident. And that confidence drives consistency.
Yeah, I always say, like, again, I'm not a super religious person. I believe in God. I tell people, like, whether you believe in God, Buddha, atheist, whatever, Mazel tov, whatever you like. But I use this example in my office. I said, look, God gave you one superpower. Yours is, like, I tell somebody, yours is that you are just a people pleaser. Like, I'm just thinking of one person in my office. Another person is you're like just a very likable person. Another person is you're very organized. You're the number cruncher. You're the spreadsheet person. Like, another person is like you come in and you take care, whatever it is.
Yep.
You play on that, but then they follow your path, this thing you've laid out. The reason why I only have 5, 10, 15 agents is because I'm working with one type of clientele, usually affluent, high net worth individuals that are buying luxury property, buying and selling. And those types of behaviors are easy to kind of predict. So then that's how we target, because unfortunately we can't have a lot of conversations because you can't door knock our neighborhoods because they're guard gated. And if you annoy these people too much, they'll write you off. Right. And it's unfortunately, unlike LA, Orange County, the bubble.
It's not nearly as
diverse and dense.
Yeah.
So if you irritate the wrong people, they'll just, it's like the restaurant analogy, right? You go there 100 times, you have a good meal, you don't tell anyone. You go there once, you have a bad meal, you tell everybody. It's like your life's mission. It's the same thing with like realtors. And there's certain realtors, no offense, that come from LA. They come down to Orange County. They get a bad name because they're going to promise the world and they don't deliver, or they're not even here physically. Right? It's a business you can't do virtually. Right? It's hard, especially with our price point and clientele. And what happens is they get a bad name and it spreads like wildfire. So we have to be careful of how we solicit, prospect, chase and market to our customer. It has to be sophisticated. But what I've done is with certain just time blocking, I call it, like, hey, let's open up your calendar. Like back when we were kids, it was the whatever Roadrunner, whatever that black book was, right? And then, daily planner. Now everything's digital, thank God. And then I just say, look, let me see your calendar. If I go into offices, when I came into your office, one agent hit me up later when I spoke at one of your Orange County Keller Williams office, and the person was like, "Oh, I'd love to hear how you became successful." I said, "I manage my calendar." I said, "Send me a screenshot of your calendar."
If it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Well, no, you open up someone's calendar and it just looks depressing.
I say it, Paul, all the time. I can look at your calendar and tell you how successful you are.
Yeah.
And how purposeful, how proactive, coming back to what Paul said, do you understand your priorities? Do you understand your KPIs? Do you understand your signals? Are they reflected in your daily schedule? And then are you executing with discipline and consistency? If not, it's not nothing's happened magically. Coming back to another thing is, who's willing to take initiative? Who's willing to be proactive? Who's willing to go after it? Nothing's falling on your lap.
I don't know if you guys know this or not, but my whole team, I really hired no experienced agents. No bad habits to unwind, right? I remember the name tag wearing, donut eating realtor with the red, was it the red was the sugar and the blue was the creamer? Remember those styrofoam cups from the 80s and 90s? Like those people are there at the cooler talking about their weekend, and they're not there to do business, and they're not there to show the other people around them that what's possible, right? So I didn't have to unwind any of those. And then let me tell you, there's a lot of people that came to work for me that they were broke when they met me, and now they own property. Like one guy that right now that works for me, he's probably doing a 50K vacation in San Tropez right now while we're sitting here. He's popping bottles, living his dream with money in the market, savings, all this stuff. And the kid came to me with very little, right? But he's an exception. I don't want to bring him up, but like he already had the fire, but they needed the roadmap to believe that they could be confident to go out and try to harpoon these whales, which is tough. Imagine getting into real estate and you're talking to 10 millionaire, 100 millionaire, billionaires, right? Immediately. That's like your first retail job at Neiman Marcus. You'll get eaten up.
But you as a tremendous leader helped instill that confidence in them because they watched you in action and they saw the possibilities. And I think that's critical. It's like the best leadership is leading by example.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we have a tough environment. You don't want to come work for me. Like I'm not nice to my team because I
love it, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm polite and we're a family, but it's tough love. Right? It's like, I'm calling you out on your bullshit. Right? If you think you're working hard, I'll tell you you're not. And I'm not opening their calendar. I'm literally going on appointments with them. If you're underprepared, like we're taking your like final exam and your last year of law school every day. You have to be that on.
Yeah.
Because our clientele gives you no room for error.
Yeah.
Right. So that's unfortunately that's an intense environment, and
it's not for everyone, obviously.
Not, no.
Speed of the leader, speed of the pack. And I also think that you have to, one of the ways to figure that out is how bad do they want it? So, Rick Pitino wrote a book, which I didn't read. And, and one of his pieces in there was PhD, which is Poor, Hungry, and Driven. And he didn't even necessarily, obviously the kids that he put on his team, they had to have great talent. But then, when you're deciding like this one has great talent, this one maybe a little less, but this kid is poor, hungry, and driven. And Rick Pitino is going to develop them over time. Yeah. That's what he wanted.
I think our top producer this year, I don't know who exactly it'll be, but my gut is it's this gal that works on our team. And she is definitely not poor. I mean, she came into the team already being super wealthy. Right. She's a part of that socialite world already, but talk about hungry and driven.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Can I ask you, one of the questions I want to ask, the perfect segue, what percentage of that, what will likely be $1 billion, will Paul Daftarian do versus the rest of the group?
So I don't list properties on my own, so it'd be unfair for me to say, if I do a deal alone, because I structure my deals where I've got, a co-listing agent or a co-buyer's agent. I've got my production manager, office manager, marketing assistant, all involved, to help me deliver a certain type of outcome, experience. And at the end, I want that feel good, like we're going to dinner afterwards and celebrating, like that's what we're striving for, is that we call it 6-star service, exceeding expectations, but we're just making a very stressful, uncomfortable situation, which is selling or buying a house, just be a little bit less chaotic, a little bit more well planned out, and hey, we've been here before, we're going to guide you through it, and you're not doing this alone. And by the way, this is how to maximize that. This is how to save there. This is how to have a better experience. And at the end, we'll even show you how to cook your first meal, where to shop when you come into town. We are the ambassadors for the community and also the experts of the market there. So it's two things, right? It's that. The Compass Concierge, which we were doing 13 years ago, plus the lifestyle ambassador of hey, you need to get, we have agents on our team that help clients that move into town get their kids into private schools. Yeah. I mean, you got to do all that.
How do you not want to, when you hear this, how do you not want to work with Paul?
Yeah.
And
it's that willingness to go way above and beyond. Yeah. You said 6-star service. It's
I'm writing all
how do you distinguish it? Greatness is a willingness to do what others will not.
Like I said, it's an old saying, the extra mile is a very lonely mile. You've already done 80% is the heavy lifting to begin with. To do that little extra piece, which so few people do, or in the restaurant world, we heard a guy speak, who had the #1 restaurant in the world, and he wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and that's what 6-star service is. Yeah, it's unreasonable hospitality.
Don't you think running a real estate team is like being the chef at a restaurant?
Absolutely.
It's I know. So the line cook might not be that important.
It's being the quarterback, by the way, because I play football.
It is. So I mean, everyone on your team has to execute at your level. If they don't, it doesn't matter. It's your fault. And if everything goes according to plan, they're great. You made a ton of money by selling my house. I'm not going to pat you on the back that hard, right?
And one way to ask the question that you were asking Paul before is, what percentage of the business is a lead that you generated versus a lead that someone on your team generated?
So I'll tell you, if so far this year we've closed in an escrow about $640 million. Actually, I'm so sorry, I take that back. It was closer to $680. So out of that, probably $250 million. So a lot of it, 3/4 of it almost came from the team generating.
Wow.
Now let me tell you, I happen to have a number of agents on my team that have been with me for 5 years or more.
Yep.
Okay. And what we've done is so I'll tell you, we run our team completely different than I think a lot of teams. Every sale that the team does, we all take credit for it. Right. So it's the team sale. So even though on the listing, there might be me and another agent, when it sells, it's on everyone's social. We're literally creating text and things so people can say, let's say I sell a property in Crystal Cove, and the agent that was my co-listing agent on the deal doesn't farm Crystal Cove.
Yeah.
which is a neighborhood in Newport Coast. And it's its own sub-community between the border of Laguna Beach and Newport. And we go to the agent that actually has the farm at Crystal Cove, create the marketing piece and say, tout this as your sale, right? So they get more business. So that's one thing that we do differently. 2, everybody's incentivized to sell each other's listings. So like when the team gets a listing, it's like everybody's motivation to get it sold, even in some cases where they make no money. So I'll give you a perfect example. It happened today. One of my agents was working a broker preview for another agent who was out of town. A neighbor walked in and said they were just checking the house out and they were talking about this other property in a totally different neighborhood that they wanted to buy. Immediately, they get the other agent on the phone with that neighbor, say, hey, why don't you talk to this guy Victor on our team? And he has that listing on the ocean front in Newport in the Peninsula Point. And why don't you just go ahead and connect and let's get a phone call. Now, that agent got nothing for that. But that's the intent. That's the culture. That's the kind of person we breed. And that's the kind of familial that's what you can do when you have a smaller team, right? If we have 200 people in the office, it's hard to do that, right? And that's why we've chosen to have, for the majority of our existence, have 10 or under or 15 or under agents, so you can kind of breed that culture, because then everybody wins. And let me tell you, the karma, the pay it forward, it always works back around. I've seen the most general bit of hospitality as the baseline for our business. The hard work and like they call me Persian dad because I'm just, kind of mean on everybody. But then when we celebrate big. It's like, I might be an emotional roller coaster. There might be some therapy needed for some of the team members, but everybody's usually hitting their goals. And that also we strive for perfection, but no, we're never going to reach it. So we don't get upset when we're not perfect, but our mentality is you have to strive to be perfect. Right, you have to. That's why every word is curated, every text, every marketing piece, every image, like I was having this conversation with one of my top agents on the drive over here, and I was like, let me ask you, just so I don't sound like I'm just repetitively saying the same thing again, what do you think that makes us different than our competitors? Why is it that we have this much success? He goes, really, it's the attention to detail, right? If you walk onto your property and it's your client has given you the baton to sell the house, and you might only be getting 2.5%, but technically you're now an equity partner, right? So even though they own 97.5% of it, you're still 2.5% partner. So if the lawn is a little bit long and the flowers are dying and the kids' beds aren't made, then you got to figure out how to remedy the situation or make the bed or do whatever. I mean, funny story, one time we went to go show a house and the parents were out of town. The high school kid threw a absolute rager. I mean, 200-300 people party. Like, I'm surprised it wasn't like Project X where the car was in the pool, right? So we go to show the house, thank God, an hour early. I call 5 people from my team. I go, this house looks like they filmed a movie in it or it's a porn set. There's some weird stuff. Like, we need to clean this house up, bring gloves, bring cleaners. Like, we did all that in an hour, didn't cancel the showing. I kid you not, the person we showed the house to bought the house.
Wow. I mean, these are things you can't go and advertise.
Nobody's doing it. Nobody's
it's a standard. And I come back to what you keep saying: speed of the leader, speed of the pack. That's who creates the standard.
We go to fancy listings, and it's and the listing agent is a great agent, and we go in, and the listing agent's not there, which is not uncommon. That's okay. And the staff is so bad. I mean, they don't even look up from their
cell phone.
And I was looking.
Oh my God, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. What is up with agents that work for top agents who think that they have to kind of be jerks because maybe their boss is, so they're just not that warm and friendly? It's like, man, you were in there to sell the house for your superior, your boss, your team leader, whatever, your rainmaker. And then why can't you be friendly and try to tell people what they're looking at, what to pay attention to? People are like, I hate to say this, people need to be guided through a house. Like, we're so neurotic on our team. Every agent shows a house the same way. You start in this room, you end here. This is the conversation you have. These are the questions you ask. I mean, we literally map it out like that. We're that's obsessive.
Brilliant.
But what is up with when you go to these? This is what I laugh when people hire. No offense, I'm going to say this. The LA agents. It's like they don't even have time to come and show the house. They won't be at the open house. They're just there to virtually negotiate a deal and do the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
we're blown away by it. We talk about it all the time.
Especially these are $20, $30, $40, $50 million
the ego, I don't know what it is. I mean, there's just an entitlement, an ego. I have a phenomenal, and it just, all it does, and this what I tell my agents, it just creates the opportunity to distinguish yourself. Right. That's it. Yeah. So, is it hard to be friendly? I mean, and be nice and be kind and ask questions and come from curiosity and contribution? I don't know. I guess it is to the majority of people.
I think you're right. They think that being being a jerk is somehow,
or standoffish, or cool.
Is cool.
Yeah, they think they're being cool.
That's right.
That's it. Right?
Like,
100%.
Listen, you're not your boss, or else you wouldn't be, wearing $200
And then
shoes.
what does it say about their bosses, with all due respect?
You roll up here in a Prius.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing against a Prius, but don't act like you drove up in the Rolls Royce and you're the rainmaker. You're working for that person who's paying you to be the ambassador for the house at that moment, right? Yeah. But that's it. And listen, I understand, look, we have 28 listings right now. I can't be at every one of them, but I will tell you the ones that I take on that are my clients, that aren't hired. Because look, a lot of times they'll hire another agent on my team, and that's the lead, right? I'm there as a package, part of the deal. They're hiring the agent and us. That's what we're offering them. But in my listings, my clients, I do the showings, I do the open houses, I'm at broker previews, I'm negotiating the deal, I'm picking the photos. I go in there and rearrange the photos in the MLS. Now, I can't do that if I have 200 listings, or if I'm doing business in New York or Florida or Nevada.
It's that balance, go ahead, Paul, of knowing when, which I find there's a lot of discretion, experience in knowing when to insert yourself, and Paul Daftarian personally providing that detail, that attention to detail, and leverage, right? I always find that, even for myself, because I have a lot of it, where do I insert myself? Where do I personally get involved? And when do I just delegate and create leverage?
You guys are great operators, obviously. You guys have, if you told, look, I'd love to have 2,000 agents. I'd love to not have my phone blow up every time I'm on a vacation.
Right. I may trade for you guys.
I can't post when I'm on vacation because someone's going to call and be like, why aren't you here in town working my listing? Right? That's how crazy people are. Right? Because look, I don't want to segue into this, but obviously the market's different today than it was even 4 months ago, kind of pre-tariffs. Right. Ever since that, it's been like a snowball effect of a just buyer latency, and the sense of urgency's kind of deflated out of the market. Inventory's picked up. And look, buyers, obviously, with that, I always say this too, and this is a trip, because I have some competitors that don't represent any buyers. They're just listing agents. If you don't understand what buyers want, you can't properly list a house. I go out and show buyers properties. Probably 40% of my day is doing buyer showings. So one, I get to see all the properties.
Interesting. Yeah, sure.
I think that's great perspective.
Two, if I was going to be a matchmaker, I can't say I'm only going to work with one side of the potential match. You got to understand how both sides work, right? And I think the best gift I've had in this business is to make sure that I understand who is really the most important part of this transaction is the buyer. They're the customer. Right? I don't care if you're selling Ferraris, airplanes, luxury properties, watches. Without the customer, without the buyer, you have no sale. And what's happening right now is this slowdown in the market has made sellers feel like the power has shifted. And it's definitely not a buyer's market because things are still selling for crazy numbers. But it's not like every house sells itself anymore.
That's right.
No, for sure.
So I have a couple of questions. One is, and this is what people on other teams struggle with. And so, for example, you mentioned that you have somebody on your team. First of all, that team members are generating a lot of business. And you mentioned somebody who's been on your team for 5 years, who's very good and this sort of thing. So
more than 5 years. So I've got about, sorry to interrupt you. I want to just make a point. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 agents on my team that have been with me over 6 to 8 years.
Wow. That says a lot. Because the revolving door with the majority of teams is pervasive.
And then let me tell you, before that, we didn't really have a big team. It was just me and my ex and her mom and an assistant. It wasn't really a team structure. So when we decided to bring on team members 8-9 years ago, and home grow them and start them as junior agents to regular agents to senior agents, and then really almost nobody's left. One person left and came back, went to our direct competitor and then came back. But I will tell you the interesting thing is that this second group of the newer, younger agents, younger in the business, not age, a couple of them have hit, but the other ones, it's just when you start something, it's like the first band, you know what I mean? It's like the music just sounds so good. You're trying to copy that again with the second grouping. It's been a little bit harder. I just found that before, the original group of people that kind of helped us really grow the team, almost eat, slept, it was just 24/7 the business. It was just this like almost movie-esque situation. We're a nobody brokerage. I mean, we're this little independent brokerage. We're competing against the Goliaths. Right. So anyways, I just wanted to say.
And so what do you attribute that second wave to? Not like
I think that so what happened was when I first started being like kind of not just a realtor and I was going to be a sales manager, which was a decision we wanted to make after we got real comfortable on what areas geographically we wanted to go after. Because realistically, you have to go after geographic areas. You have to be, in our market especially, you have to be the expert. So then it was like a 3 to 5 year plan on how do we knock out the other agent. And really it was what can we do better? Right? And you always say differentiate themselves. I hate when people sugarcoat. This is a kill or be killed business. You almost have to go, take something from someone else that's there, which is their client list. I hate to say it. And you don't do it in a rude or a way. You just do it that, hey, we think we're better. This is why. We're open for business. Contact us. Right? It's not like don't use the other person. It's like this is why you should use us. So it's not like we're poaching clients. We don't do that at all. But what we are doing is going into market saying, hey, here's a flaw with the other top producer. Here's a weakness, and this is where we can shine. And we think we're delivering a service that's far superior, and we're solving a problem that's not being addressed. I'll give you an example. I own a property in a community called Pelican Ridge Estates. When I first went in there, those were mid-90s constructions. A lot of agents would just list them with just stage and paint. Not even really paint, just stage them and get, put the first sale sign and get it out. We would insist on letting them do these remodels, mini remodels. We don't get paid for it. It was nothing but a headache. And we brought in subs and kind of advised on it. It was a zero profit center for us. And we had to find the cheaper, less expensive subs and contractors to make it appealing. So then when we did that, we started hitting all these record sales. And then we pulled the value up of the entire neighborhood. So when the next community saw that, they're like, hey, wait, that community used to be priced less than ours, and we believe ours is superior, but why are they getting higher prices and selling in faster days? So that's how we felt like we did more than our competitor.
Wow.
You really answered one, because I have a few questions that I have to ask before we let Paul go.
You fire away.
And you answered one of those questions already, certainly with that particular neighborhood, because when I look at one of these great houses and let's just say we deal with it all the time right now, that the house is a bit overpriced, and they're gonna hire a realtor, they're going to hire a great realtor, then they're going to blame that great realtor. How does that great realtor get hired? They go in and they promise as much stuff as they can in order to get the thing signed.
Sell the dream.
Yeah. And then they get in there and they're immediately out of the gate, not fulfilling those promises because some of them
not realistic,
aren't fulfillable.
Yeah.
And, they put the price too high, and then, the owner wants to know, why didn't anybody come see it? And, it's just this whole thing. So one question, which you answered in that way, what are you going to do that's really different? Because I would say that here's the counter argument. Counter argument is, I own a $30 million house. I think it's $30 million. It's really only worth 25. Okay. And I know that there are 4 or 5 top realtors. I'm going to pick one of them. And, what is any one of those people going to do different? Because everybody's going to create a beautiful brochure. Everybody's going to create beautiful photography. Everybody's going to have a great video. And then after that, it's put out on the MLS. It's put on Zillow, and Redfin picks it up. 99% of buyers are now using some internet tool. And now it's like everybody's really doing the same. And so isn't it price?
I disagree with you. That's all BS. Let me tell you.
Thank you. Tell me.
That's all bullshit. Let me tell you. What sells homes that don't sell themselves is a great agent and a team backing them up. So listen, there's an individual agent in our marketplace, and as far as like individual agents go, he's got one partner, like a sales partner, and it's just the two of them, right? They sell a ton of real estate. In fact, he's like developing now. It's just, whatever he rubs people the wrong way because he's super brilliant, and he's a little on the way more than the Persian dad that I go. He's just very blunt, right? But I've watched this guy for 20, 30 years, and he pulls off the impossible. What he does is when he gets a listing that's stuck and the market's not selling it for him, he'll go bring a buyer. Has nothing to do with how cute the pictures are, how many cool videos, if there's people dancing in his videos and his video has 1 million views. Like, listen, NS, the video guy, he does amazing work. I watch that stuff. It's house porn. I love it, right? I'm obsessed with it.
Friends with Ennis,
So I did a bunch of videos with him. I didn't get any response that led to any more showings, to any offers, to any additional sale. When I got stuck on a house, like the other agent, the gentleman, the one with the cool glasses you introduced me to, he was talking about a mutual of someone he knows and a client of mine. That client enlisted us to sell a house for $37 million is what it finally sold for. It was listed at 43, and the highest sale in there was that house as almost a tear down for 12.5. And it had no guard at the gate, no beach access. It's in front row Laguna Beach. But I knew that somebody was going to come from the neighborhood above, which was Crystal Cove, kind of around and above. So that's who I was going to target our marketing to. When we finally got somebody like that, we convinced him through their own agent. I was dealing directly with them. Like the buyer was calling me direct with his agent on the phone as like a lackey. And then I negotiated a deal that was $5 million higher than someone else that we had in escrow about to cancel. So we pulled off a real estate miracle. Okay. Now, that had nothing to do with marketing. That had to do with grit, determination, experience, and just not stopping till you get the outcome you need or want, right? That's different than all the other BS about the marketing fluff. Why do we sell more homes? Why do we have, like right now as we're sitting here, my team and I have the highest sale to sell in the whole calendar year, number 1, and number 2, and number 8. So we're not that lucky, right? Why is it? 1, we believe in the communities that we sell homes in, so we can defend our list prices better than our competitors. So that's number 1. And again, remember, we represent a lot of buyers. Our buyer, you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to tell you. So about 60% of our deals come from listings, 40% are buys.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
So
that's a great
60,
question.
40, 70,
glad you asked it and answered it.
Yeah, thank you. That's the ADD. But the point is that we know what buyers are willing to do, right? And we can't price properties. Listen, you did say something right, Paul. All these top 5 agents in every neighborhood has 5 agents that are working a farm, right? They all use a great photographer. They all got great videography. They're doing short format. They're doing vertical. They're doing YouTube. They're doing Instagram, right? They got a pretty girl walking through a house, getting your attention. They got something crazy happening. And then they keep on putting it out on social. Everyone's seeing it, but there's no showings. And there's no sense of urgency with the buyers that are coming to see the house. And it just sits and sits and sits. I'll give you another example. I could pick up the phone and tell somebody that I know that lives in a $10 million home that I want to sell my $17 million home to, but he's like, hey, we got to sell my house first. And I don't want to sell it under market and fire sell it, but I got to get my buyer for my house. Then I'll go put an offer in on your other house, and then we'll get a transaction. So then my whole focus is how do I find a buyer off market for that other guy's house so he can buy my other listing that's not selling. And when I get him a big number for his place, he'll give my client a fair number too. So that's just relationships, connectivity, being smart. I hate to say this, no one talks about this anymore. You have to be smart. So if you're stupid, get smart. That's not that hard. There's a lot of information you can consume. There's a million. Remember when we were kids, you actually had to go find a mentor? You had to like take them to lunch. You sometimes had to pay them. Now, like you said, what was the guy you were talking about earlier?
Signal versus noise. I mean, we can look it up on...
What's his name? The guy that's blanking me out. The amazing podcaster.
Huberman.
Right?
Yeah.
Was there guys like that putting out free content when we were kids?
No way.
No. Right? I mean, was there Ed Milet's? Was there, was there all these
There's
people?
There's so much information.
So
and
you
now
can,
AI.
so you look at AI, right? Like, I'm like, how are people not using ChatGPT? Like literally when I was driving over here, we asked ChatGPT, tell us about this podcast. What should we know about it? I'm going to do a podcast. Tell me what I need to know.
Access to information is...
So if you're not that bright, it's okay. Listen, I dropped out of college. I'm not that bright. I'm not Mensa. I'm not a genius. So I just found information that I needed quickly. 2, you got to be smart in connecting the dots on things, right? Like, and then 3 is you got to understand how to sell your product better than anyone. So that's really where the value of a top agent. I don't care if it's for a $200,000 home or a $200 million home, right? When you talk to Gary Gold and he's like, hey, how'd you sell the Playboy Mansion? It was through connections. Like everybody knows each other. The reason why I like selling luxury properties is the pool is very small. Everybody knows everybody. There's only so many 100 millionaire and billionaires in Orange County. The pool is a lot smaller than LA or Miami or New York. So when it comes time to sell a property, that's how we can kind of price it. If it's not moving, like right now, there is a slowdown happening. Now, look, slowdown. There's no free fall of price, but it's just a lot harder to sell the same house today than it was 3 to 6 months ago.
For sure.
So you just have to get on your saddle and ride. You got to work. You got to make phone calls. It's like what you said earlier. Who makes the most calls? Am I going to call 10 more potential buyers direct or 10 more agents that day? I just don't understand why agents don't do that. I get more action from my text than any amount of marketing I can do. And let me tell you, this is something about my market that I can't say about other markets, but 90% of all the sales, the high-end sales, came from local buyers. That means
we talk about that all the time. Everyone's talking about the international buyers.
My sellers are like, how can we advertise our house to private jet owners in Abu Dhabi? I go, listen, they're not coming to Newport Beach, right? They're leaving. A lot of our clients are leaving, moving to Dubai, right? Who's coming is the person that had the financial, success to be able to buy this. And they're locals. They love those neighborhoods, right? So anyways.
And
so
you know what, Gary?
bringing the buyer, knowing who the buyer is, I think is so essential and gets lost.
Yeah, because look, how do you double end a deal? You get lucky through an open house or an ad, or you know the buyer. They're actually a client of yours or a potential prospect. Again, going back to that guy that I mentioned, and I can't say his name. His name's Rob Geem. I watched this guy double into a lot of deals, and he actually didn't. When I was younger, when I was first starting out, I go, I want to be like this guy. He's not watching the market. He's making the market, right?
I love it.
So like we always say, like our listings don't just go with the flow of the market. We are changing the trajectory of the market. Like again, by these big sales, big price per square foot, breaking thresholds. So that was my vision.
I was just going to say, you are creating the vision for that buyer. Like that's and knowing your neighborhood, knowing the trends, knowing where things are going, you're casting the vision for that buyer to show them that it's worth.
And I will say one last thing. If your client, like, look, I sold a client this house, and again, we don't have many professional athlete clients in Orange County, but this was one, and I signed an NDA, so I can't say who it is. But when he bought the property, he was like, "Hey, this seems like a lot of money for this neighborhood." I said, "Listen, I know it does, but trust me, in 6 months to a year, they're going to be 10, 20% higher." And it wasn't 3 to 6 months or 6 months to a year later. It was the next 2 months later. Someone paid $3 million more than he did, and someone paid X number of dollars per square foot. So if you know that you're giving people good advice, you know what's interesting in our business, people through overthinking or fear of action have missed out on so many great deals, and they're grinding over, talk about tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. I have 100 clients on a list that I call back once in a while and I go, remember I told you to buy that house for $5 million? It's $15 million now. That was 5 years ago.
Do you want to make that same mistake again?
I was like, so then anyways, I think it's giving the right advice, but I know.
One question that I have, and then I'll just reflect back to that and say that Gary has a great listing in the Beverly Hills Flats. Everybody knows everybody in the Beverly Hills Flats. Everybody knows the price of everything in the Beverly Hills Flats. You're not fooling anyone. And one of the things he did was he sent a handwritten personal card to every owner in the Beverly Hills Flats that said, "Hey, if you're interested, I'll show you, I'll preview the house personally." Yeah. Of course that, is that going to get Gary Gold more business? Of course it is. And it's a phenomenal way to sell that house that other people are not doing.
Personalized touch, separating yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? But look, he's like a network guy. I've been in the business. I'm not going anywhere. That's another thing. Your clients have to know that you're not going anywhere. I tell all these agents that ask me all the time, I want to join your team. I go, which house are you going to be selling 20 years from now? Because it doesn't matter how much money I have or how many development deals I'll do in the future. Or like I want to get into coaching and mentoring. If that business blows up, I still love the business of real estate. So people know I'm not going anywhere, right? I don't want to fizzle out or like fade out when people are like, look, I'm just trying to do a deal right now. Well, your whole vision's wrong.
So one of the questions that I had, at this point, it's like almost the answer. I think if somebody has watched this far through, like the answer's obvious, but I got to ask it anyway. Because people who do training the way that you train, people that mentor the way that you mentor will say, yeah, but then they take all that mentoring, they see the way this particular amazing thing is built, and then they'll just go off and leave me.
I haven't had anyone leave me. You know why? I pay more than my competition, and I create a value proposition that I would say yes to if I was them. If I can't offer somebody, even with a client, right? If I want to go list someone's house, if I want to employ an agent, if I want to do whatever, the deal that I'm going to offer them is before I even put it in front of them is an absolute no-brainer. I come up with so many rebuttals already to any future objections that I would think they would be foolish not to take it. And that's why I've had almost zero turnover. I mean, it's like, what if I was a realtor, what environment would I want to work in? Yeah. Right.
It's always comes back. It's what we talk tactical empathy. Try to see things from their perspective. Right. It's any deal has to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right.
And you said the magic word, empathy. Yes. Right. Certain, look, I can make this joke, like I'm Persian, right? So like when we came over here in the early 80s, I don't think people that were in survival mode were very empathetic.
Sure,
so
of course
Persians didn't make very good realtors. Now, obviously we're in Hollywood Hills. So there's a lot of Persian agents, right? We're second and third generation, whatever it is. Like they realize, wait a minute, the American culture, it has to be an empathetic sale. You have to put my needs first. But you know what? So is employment. So is running a business. Your employee is more important than you are. Right,
that's leadership.
Right. Well, that's the way they stay because they're not going to get that elsewhere. Right. Like
value. It's an exchange of value, and it's got to be mutually beneficial if it's going to be sustainable.
You have to offer more and give a little bit more than you take.
Yes.
In every situation.
I guess I do have, because I mark this on things. You offer white glove service. You offer 6-star service. How do you draw boundaries to where the client is like,
look, I had a client call me at 1 a.m. the other day. They were panicking, right? And like they're in the Western Hemisphere. They're not like in another country, right? So I just said, hey, listen, unless you're literally like physically hurt or there's some document that got signed, it got sent out that we need to retract, I'm not going to answer the call. Like I don't sit there and try to check them, right? I'm not like, hey, don't call me. Like I don't try to.
Speaking of which,
that's okay. That's a client alarm.
Yeah.
But the point is, I don't really set the boundaries. I set the tone. So like if people text me 2-3 times and it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, or in a deal, I'm answering. When we're not in that deal, when we're not doing active negotiations or the CR's not out for signature, the contingency removal, I'm not going to move on. And listen, some people don't like that. And that's why I have co-listings and assistants, co-listing agents, because I'm not the only person that could get you the answer.
And it also comes back to, can anything be done about it now? If not, it can wait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I don't ever say that.
I know.
Look, like I love sports cars, right? So like, take my Ferrari in for service. I'm like, when can I expect this back? They're like, we're going to do our absolute best to get it back to you as soon as possible. I leave, I go, what does that mean?
I was just going to say, what does that mean?
Yeah. They're like, I don't know. Maybe the guy with the cappuccino machine in Italy is like, that's what they're worried about versus getting your part in the box, right? Yeah. So like the car is just there in no man's land. But like at the end, they make you feel good about it. Right. They're like, hey, we're trying. Here's a digital update. Here's a picture of your car. They over encumber you with updates and information. When communication, right? It's a painful process. But it's interesting when you deal in the luxury space, a lot of it is setting the right expectation, right? Like when you want to go get an Hermes Birkin bag, they don't tell you have to buy all these ridiculous things you're never going to use, like plates and cups and ashtrays and saucers, and because the things you really want, they won't count as your profile, right?
Yep.
When you go buy a Ferrari, they put you through the grinder, right? You think when you're younger and you have enough money to buy these things, they're going to serve it up on a silver platter. They don't. So a lot of that's part of that whole game. In our business, we're like, listen, we're not saying that we're better than you, but we are one of you, right? We run in the same social circles. We're not your lackey. So just don't treat us like one, right? And if you cross the line, I'm going to have a conversation and just sit down. And that's really not that I live for that, but I'm good at that without ruffling anyone's feathers, without getting emotional. It's just like, listen, hey, you do what you do. You've been successful enough. We're friendly. This is a small town. You don't need to push the envelope with like yelling at my staff or being a psychopath. And again, sometimes they are. We let them get through it. And then afterwards we say, this is the boundary. Right?
Got it.
Yep.
Let's
fire round.
Let's do the fire round. So we'll just ask, some of these are questions that could be long answers. We could talk back and forth on them. We'd love to.
We've subjected the listeners to a long podcast.
We'll ask, What's your idea of perfect happiness?
I'm living it right now.
What's your greatest fear?
Losing.
What's an insult you've received that you're proud of?
You're not good enough.
What's an attribute you most admire in others?
Discipline.
What's an attribute that you have yourself that you least like?
Lack of enough discipline, personally.
What's your greatest extravagance?
Living a lavish lifestyle. Being extra.
What's your greatest achievement?
My kids. I have 2 great kids, 2 daughters, 9 and 11. That's my greatest achievement. But of course, everyone wants to hear about business or whatever. And listen, it's not selling the most expensive home in Orange County this year. My greatest achievement in business has been that my clients actually like me and they choose to hang out and we become friends afterwards.
Nice.
That's my greatest achievement.
So you go on this great hike to a great place in Orange County where there's this wonderful vista, and you look down and it's your close family and friends and clients and your whole community, and you shout one thing. What do you shout?
I love you.
I love it.
Great.
Phenomenal, brother. Wow, amazing. Yeah. I mean,
Bravo.